Sometimes you plan a surf trip, check the forecast, and well, let's just say that things escalate quickly, especially if you're going to the best big wave in the world. On this episode, we're headed 2,700 miles southwest of Honolulu and 1,100 miles north of New Zealand to Fiji. Known primarily for cloud-break and restaurants, two of the most iconic left reef passes in the world, the islands of Fiji have long represented the platonic ideal of the South Pacific surf paradise. This episode, Julian Wilson and I are flying in with one of the biggest swells in years headed for cloud-break, and the opportunity to see real roots Fiji. The native sun raised abroad, and the local charger, who's just as happy to blitz it when it gets big as he is to host the after party at his family's cocktail joint. The local chiefs and village heavies, who care for and keep both surfers and the pristine coral reefs here safe from harm. We'll also meet surfing's Peter Pan and his Neverland for big wave lost boys and girls. This is No Contest, Fiji. After a decade and a half as a perennial world title threat on the championship tour, Julian Wilson has slid gracefully into his second act. Juggling roles as a proud and dedicated father and husband, the face and creative brains behind his new apparel brand, Revia Projects, and a relentlessly driven free surfer.
First time I surfed cloud-break was my first year on tour, 2011. And yeah, I was blown away just how close it was, but it's only a 3-hour flight away, so I was pretty baffled when I got here and just how beautiful it is, and I've fallen in love with Fiji and the people and the waves.
The Republic of Fiji, more than 330 islands, something like only a third of which are permanently inhabited, not to mention the 500-plus smaller islets, 3 times the size of Bali, with less than an eighth of the population. The Fijian people are known to be one of the friendliest cultures on Earth, which might just be because, well, it's Fiji. Look at it. It's paradise. But there's more to the deep warmth and hospitality that you'll enjoy from anyone within an earshot of a bula. And there's no more blindingly obvious example of Fijians' bottomless hospitality and unflappable friendliness than Tavita Nukilau.
Most people you speak to will tell you like Fijians are like some of the friendliest people in the world, and it's hard to find a Fijian that's not smiling at you. You just go into the villages and you see how the kids roam around, like I was saying today, like they're like free-range kids, you know, not a single screen in front of them. They're all just running around, chasing each other around, and they walk from house to house, and you know you're going to be looked after and you know it's safe. When you grow up like that, I think that just translates into like later in life.
You won't find a bigger frame nor broader smile anywhere in the Fijian Islands than this man right here. Abo has been keeping an eye on cloud-break and restaurants for years, and now runs his own boat charters for visiting surfers.
We are the Ocean View company, so taking for island hopping, surfing, and taking photos. That's possible if you want to come over and see us.
Good luck.
My dad's from a village called Wailevu in Kandavu, which is like the southernmost island here. I grew up in Western Australia, so like I was here as a kid, but never surfed here as a kid. So I only really came back here to surf here as an adult. As far as Fijian surfers, it's still relatively in its infancy as far as surf culture. There's a lot more kids getting out in the water now, and there's starting to become a culture around surfing, which is relatively new, I think. One of the biggest barriers to entry here is all the waves, for the most part, are outer reefs. Getting kids from their houses out to the reefs is a bit of a logistical nightmare, so to speak. So without older crew and without other people facilitating that, it becomes quite a difficult thing to do here. And the biggest sport here is rugby by far. So, that's like religion. So,
while surfing in Fiji might still be in its developmental stages, Fijian rugby is the stuff of international legend. The islands have produced generations of world-class talent, and today Fiji has more rugby players per capita than any other sport in any other country in the world. Out of Fiji's population of 900,000, there's something like 80,000 rugby players. Imagine something like 10% of the US playing American football.
every kid here wants to be a professional rugby player. So surfing's like a fair way down the list as far as things that kids are brought up with. But, that's slowly beginning to change, and a lot more kids out in the water now than there used to be.
The islands still largely function on tribal systems, with Fiji's 15 distinct provinces divided into 195 districts, organized into over 1,000 individual villages. Each village's chiefs manage a communal economic system where most income and wealth is spread throughout the entire village. While humble by Western standards, life here is simple and beautiful. Fiji's rich soil produces an extraordinary spread of fruits, vegetables, herbs, and spices. Most famously, the gum-numbing and anxiety-calming root, kava.
So they're always happy to receive some kava.
Is that like a customary thing if you're showing up to a village to bring kava?
Well, it's just, so like special occasions. Yeah, it's just, it's a nice thing to do.
Fijians have used kava for medicinal and ceremonial purposes for centuries. In the last few years, kava has become all the rage internationally. Hundreds of kava bars have opened in the United States, and the growing popularity has been perpetuated by kava's endearing Western nickname, Nature's Xanax. This is the iconic heart-shaped island known by surfers the world over as Tavarua. The waves out front of Tavarua, restaurants and Cloudbreak, have been the subject of much political opinion since their discovery. Two waves with some of the most complicated histories of any on the planet. And no one knows these waves, nor their history, better than John Roseman, a man inarguably in the running for the most barreled human to ever live.
I always wanted to do something with surfing in my life. Discovering this island for myself. Obviously the wave's incredible and that's super addicting. Getting barreled at Cloudbreak all by itself, but the Fijian people are just incredible. Really, you can't have one without the other. And I fell so in love with the Fijian people and I was like, I want to make this my life. Steve Ritter, I know, was sailing a boat through here and surfed restaurants, and I believe that was like in the late 1970s, and mentioned this insane left appeals around an island to my partner, Dave Clark. Dave Clark was the first one to officially surf Cloudbreak and name it, which is basically, in Fijian word for it is Nakurukuro Milangi, which means thundercloud reef.
For years, only a handful of surfers knew of the wave's location, until 1984, when Surfer magazine revealed the wave to the rest of the surfing world. Most of Fiji was pioneered during surfing's age of discovery, which lasted from the 1970s until the early 1990s. But Fiji's surf scene developed significantly slower than places like Pavones, G-Land, Chopu, or the Mentawais, largely because of the exclusivity of Cloudbreak and restaurants to visitors of Tavarua Island Resort. Unless you were a paying guest at Tavarua, the best two waves were off limits to locals and visitors alike. The exclusivity became an issue as Fiji's surf culture began to develop, and local surfers were unable to surf the best two waves in the island chain. The villages here in Fiji manage the reefs and waterways of the islands, with each village having exclusive fishing rights to certain reefs. Part of the lease that Dave Clark and Tavarua negotiated with the village included the reefs, which gave Tavarua Island Resort a unique distinction amongst other surf camps: exclusivity. For the better part of a decade and a half, only paying guests of the island were legally permitted to surf Cloudbreak and restaurants, and Tavarua quickly became the ultimate high-ticket surf destination.
With the exclusivity thing of the islands out there, I didn't really have a great interest in coming back to surf because I couldn't really afford to stay out there, so I didn't want to come over and not be able to surf Cloudbreak.
After a legal battle in 2010, Cloudbreak and restaurants were open to the public as part of the Fijian government's Regulations of Surfing Decree, which made all surf spots accessible in hopes of quote-unquote enhancing Fiji's image as an international surf destination.
I think one of the major concerns, we didn't really understand how many people these reefs could hold. We have a pretty well-stocked medical clinic and volunteer doctors and things, and even back in the old days, we had really serious surf injuries that we obviously did our best to take care of, and a lot were life-threatening and things. So we didn't know if that was going to become a major issue with just more people getting injured with surfboards and everything. And of course, we're a little concerned with just environmental impact too, and anchors and fuel spills and who knows what else. But it definitely sorted itself out, and I have to thank the surrounding community for that, because there's a lot of people that care deeply about this whole system of reefs beyond just us on Tavarua, and I think we're all on the same team.
Really started getting into it when everything opened up, and then came back around then and fell in love straight away, and was pretty much in awe of that place and that wave. And yeah, just want to be close to it, near it. It's been so great to come back and over the last sort of 10, 15 years and really try and get to know Cloudbreak and all the surrounding waves and, get back to my roots, I guess.
While there were concerns that Cloudbreak's so-called liberation would give way to a sort of barbarians at the gate scenario in the lineups, the reality has been much more civilized than anticipated. It's settled into a state of tolerant, friendly equilibrium, wherein most all boats running charters to Cloudbreak and restaurants are local-owned, local-run.
I think opening up, obviously, to begin with, probably would have been difficult, I know, for the crew that are used to having it to themselves. But I think in the long run, it's beneficial to everyone, because now you've got a lot of the boatmen and a lot of the guys that used to work at the islands. They're able to run their own small businesses. They're able to save up and buy their own boats and take guests out there. And so I think it's definitely had a net positive effect on not only Fijian surf culture and getting more people out in the water, but just economically, I think, for the whole area. Everyone's sort of prospered from that, and that just has a follow-on effect, then the family group's looked after and everyone's making a bit of money, and it's everything gets shared around and everyone's sort of looking after each other, which is pretty refreshing in a world where everywhere seems to be what can I get for me, it's a bit more community-based, I guess, and share the love sort of thing.
Instead of outside investors flooding the market, the villages have developed their own humble services, homestays and boat charters, and all operated with a deep respect for the reefs and natural environment.
It gets better when it's bigger, obviously. It's incredible and small, but they just hold their shape so well on the second reef. And it grows, and it's just so blue, and the barrel just stays so open.
Yeah, when I would normally come here, don't really bring anything bigger than a 6'2". I've had a lot of fun and enjoyment out of surfing the first ledge at Cloudbreak. But when Veets said he had a 9.0 that he was dusting off, I was like, all of a sudden the 8.0 that I'd never ridden was small. And for that opportunity to surf the back part of the reef, which I'd never seen, but was dreaming about coming back to surf.
All of your guys' safety equipment makes me feel fucking terrified right now.
Julian's no stranger to mortal-sized Cloudbreak, but the swell that we were here for was shaping up to be entirely new territory. This trip, we were here to see the real difference between Cloudbreak and every other surf spot on the planet. As Cloudbreak gets bigger, the wave gets even longer, hollower, heavier, and somehow, inexplicably, more perfect.
I feel like my stomach's been like in my chest since I woke up this morning for sure. And it's so serene and beautiful that it makes you feel almost uncomfortable because you know that there's just like radical violence like fucking 3/4 of a mile away in the middle of the ocean.
All about bringing everyone home, you know?
Oh, just tow boards, oxygen
come that
tanks,
side.
impact vests.
Some wild ones.
Yeah. They said 20-footer rolled through.
So better to be ready than not. May the force be with you guys.
Yeah, Yuri, thanks, mate.
Good luck, guys. We'll see you out there.
I was so confident my 7.6 was going to be like way overkill, and then he pulled out that 9.0 this morning, and I was like, get fucked. This is not what I signed up for.
It's a perfect wave, they said. It's the easiest big wave in the world, they said.
Three waves on the head through Shish-Kebab.
Fucking hell, you alright?
Smoking, Beck, it's smoking.
That was crazy, bro. Best day ever.
Fucking like it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Fucking sell over there. Terrifying.
So glad to be off that fucking reef inside.
Yeah. I think I saw the best waves I've ever seen in my life this trip, and I caught a couple as well, and it's probably my greatest experience I've had in Fiji.
Well, for me, it was a really special moment. Like, I've got probably the biggest barrel I've ever got in my life, and it's such an amazing place, but it's also very dangerous, especially when you get stuck on the inside there. I don't think if I went out and aided on another one. I don't know whether I could have pulled off another like round 2 of that. I was like, we'll just go over and have a look at restaurants, and then we went round there and it was just like freaking pumping.
Yeah, I think like 4 boards broke in an hour and stitches in one guy's head, a broken arm, Ashton's excursion. Like, there's a lot of skin and boards just got left on that reef in like a short amount of time.
No big deal.
Before heading home, Julian, Tavita, and I had to stop at our friend Shay's family cocktail bar, Cardo's, to throw back a few and reflect on the week's events.
Cheers, mother lickers.
Fiji is an almost mystically beautiful place. The locals' exuberant warmth and displays of bottomless generosity, combined with the chance that you might just get the best wave of your life, makes Fiji a bucket list destination for any serious surfer. Julian and I are infinitely grateful to everyone in Fiji who helped make our trip such a once-in-a-lifetime experience. We'll see you next episode of No Contest.